All right, welcome back, everyone. This week, we are diving headfirst into a packed midweek of football, covering everything from Europe to Saudi Arabia. We've got the expert tips right here, so let's get into it and see what the big story is. So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll hit the two big games kicking things off on Tuesday. Then, we'll jump into Wednesday, which is absolutely loaded. To make sense of it all, we're going to group the games. First, looking at the big dogs playing on the road, and then flipping it to the teams expected to dominate at home. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with a full recap at the end.
All right, no time to waste, let's jump right into Tuesday's action. We've got two pretty different matches on tap, but you know what? Both have some really clear favorites.
Okay, first up, we're heading to St. James Park. This is a massive one, the first leg of the EFL Cup semi-final. Newcastle taking on Manchester City. You can just feel the tension. The stakes are absolutely massive here.
So the thinking here isn't just about who's going to win. It's really all about City's, ruthless consistency. I mean, think about it. They almost always find the back of the net against Premier League teams. And that's exactly why the prediction here is kind of twofold. You've got the simple away win, or, if you want to play it a bit safer, just banking on City to score at least one goal.
All right, from England, let's hop over to our second Tuesday game. This time we're in the Saudi Pro League, where Damak are hosting the absolute powerhouse Ittihad Jeddah.
You know, this one pretty much comes down to a classic mismatch in firepower. Ittihad has this just star-studded attack, and they're expected to be way too much for a Damak side that, let's be honest, really struggles when they play the top teams. So with that clear imbalance, the experts are calling it pretty precisely, a 2-1 win for the visitors. Okay, let's turn the page to Wednesday, and we're kicking things off with a really clear theme. We've got three of Europe's biggest clubs all playing away from home, but they're still the heavy favorites to walk away with a comfortable win. It really seems like the experts are betting on pure quality to silence that home crowd.
First stop for us, Scotland. We've got the reigning champs, Celtic, traveling to take on the newly promoted Falkirk. This is your classic top-of-the-table versus bottom-of-the-table clash.
Yeah, when you're talking about Celtic in the Scottish Premiership, this story pretty much writes itself, doesn't it? Their sheer dominance is the deciding factor here, and the thinking is they'll put in a controlled, professional performance. The prediction? A solid 2-0 win on the road.
Okay, from Scotland to Spain, we've got a Copa del Rey match that has David versus Goliath written all over it. We're talking Albacete hosting the mighty Real Madrid.
I mean, this one really just comes down to the huge, almost unbelievable gap in class between these two squads. Look, even if Madrid decides to rest a few stars and rotate the team, their world-class talent should just be way, way too much for Albacete to handle. That's why the prediction is a 3-1 victory for them.
All right, for our final giant on the road, we're heading over to Germany. FC Köln has the, unenviable task of trying to stop the juggernaut that is Bayern Munich. This is all about Bayern's ruthless form. Simple as that. We're not just talking about a good team here. This is a team that is absolutely firing on all cylinders. They are playing on a completely different level right now, which is why the experts are pretty confident in a comprehensive 3-0 win.
All right, let's totally switch gears for the rest of our Wednesday games. The theme completely flips on its head now. Now we're looking at some really strong teams who are playing at home in front of their own fans and are fully expected to make that advantage count.
And we're right back to Scotland for our first home favorite. This time it's Hearts hosting St. Mirren at their home ground, Tynecastle, which is a real fortress for them.
And right here, you can really see the power of that classic home field advantage in action. The experts are basically looking at two things: Hearts' consistent strength at home versus St. Mirren's, inconsistency on the road. You put those two things together, and it points pretty directly to a commanding 3-0 win for the home side.
Okay, let's jet over to Italy now, where we've got a Napoli team with serious title ambitions, playing at home against Parma.
You know, context is absolutely everything with this one. For Napoli, this isn't just another match day. It's a must-win game if they want to stay in the hunt for that Serie A title. So you've got that intense motivation, you've got the home crowd behind them. It should be more than enough to handle a mid-table Parma team. The prediction, a solid 2-0 victory.
And for our final game, we're staying in Italy. Another huge title contender, Inter Milan, is at home against US Lecce.
So this prediction is all about the way Inter plays. They aren't just winning games. They're grinding out these tough victories with a defense that is just rock solid. They keep so many clean sheets.
So you take that and you combine it with a Lecce team that almost never scores against the big boys, and yeah, another 2-0 home win just feels like the most logical outcome.
Whew. All right, we've made it through all 8 matches. So let's pull everything together now and take a look at the big picture.
And there it is. Every single tip we've talked about, all in one place. From that big cup tie on Tuesday all the way through the Wednesday league games. You can see the home wins we just talked about. But honestly, when you lay it all out like this, a really, really interesting pattern starts to jump out at you.
Just look at that. Out of the 8 games we've just broken down, the experts are calling for an away win in 6 of them. I mean, that's 75% of the matches. From Man City and Real Madrid all the way to Celtic and Ittihad, the big story this week is clearly the expected dominance of the visiting teams.
And, well, that leads us to one final big question. When you see a whole slate of games leaning this heavily towards away teams, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In this day and age, where the gap between the super clubs and, well, everyone else just seems to get wider and wider, is that legendary home field advantage actually starting to lose its power? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining.